February launch. I'm really pleased to be starting February with a bit of a kick and positivity, especially as obviously 2020 has been an interesting year for all of us, and 2021 is going to be filled with new and different challenges for like students, staff, and everybody, and basically everyone. Feel Good February is UWE Bristol's flagship health and wellbeing program, and is there to support staff and students to make healthy choices, um, to help them relax, eat well, get active, and try new things. The full program is on our website on ue.ac.uk/feelgood. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter. So do get involved and engage with us, not just in February, but throughout the year. And I just wanted to give a personal shout out to Eleanor, who has been instrumental in the coordination, planning, and just kind of getting stuck in with the Feel Good February program, both behind the scenes, but today she's taking the reins of this event, which is really exciting. The way that this is going to go is going to be a panel discussion with a wide range of experts who are absolutely brilliant. There'll be a chance for any questions at the end. The event is recorded, so it'll be accessible afterwards. You can add subtitles to your screen if you want, if by clicking on the three dots at the top and then adding subtitles. And I feel like that's the main things that needs to be discussed, like for me to share. So it is my absolute great pleasure for me to pass on the reins to Eleanor, our healthy university intern, and who will be leading the event, and then I'll be on the chat for any questions or any support that you any of the attendees may need. So Eleanor, over to you.
So hello, welcome to the Feel Good launch. My name is Eleanor and I am the Healthy University Intern. So I work with Louise to support the Feel Good programme. I'm also a student, so I'm in my final year studying at UWE, and I'm really passionate about creating positive messaging around wellbeing. So today is a really exciting day for me. So it's a great honour to start things off by welcoming Professor Marc Griffiths to give an executive welcome on behalf of the Vice-Chancellor's office. So I'll pass over to Marc.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for that introduction. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay, yeah. Great. So I was delighted to be asked by Louise and Eleanor sometime, I think it was just before Christmas actually, to do the kind of welcome and address today to Feel Good February. And I think first and foremost, a warm welcome. I know we're in strange times, but if the last year's events have taught us anything, it's about the need to look after our physical and mental health. Not just our personal mental and physical health, but also those around us. And I think it's testament to, I think, us as humans, and particularly here at UWE Bristol, the way in which that's been undertaken, both in terms of our student population, our staff population, and being connected, even though we are apart. I'm really happy and delighted actually to be opening this year's event. Mental health and well-being is obviously very close to my own faculty and the programs that we deliver, but also for me as an individual, as a person as well as a human and as a member of staff. Mental health and mental health well-being is really, really important from a balanced perspective of how you undertake your life. And I think many of us will probably be the first to admit over the last 12 months there's probably been a fair amount of stress that's existed, both in society as a whole, uncertainty, and having that mental well-being positioning and that time to take stock of where you are perhaps and where things are around you is really, really important. And I know I've seen again firsthand some of the challenges that have been faced by people, but also where well-being plays a really important part of their own personal, I think, space and development as well. and that can be things such as the walk-in, the talk-in. It can be about also taking time out as well, and many of the things that are focused on within the activities of this month. I've written a bit here on my script around kindness and compassion, and again, those two words are sometimes maybe overused within certainly the programs in my faculty, which is the Faculty of Health and Applied Sciences, of which I'm the dean for. I should have mentioned that. Those words are embedded quite firmly. However, I believe those words are invaluable during these challenging times. And actually, kindness and compassion, when I look at what's been put together for Feel Good February with across the university, that's exactly what it feels like to me in terms of all the activities that have been put together. And I just want to commend Eleanor for, as Louise mentioned, about the way that this has been put together during these challenging times. It's hard enough doing it during normal times, but let alone during times when we are in amongst a pandemic. So it's testament, I think, to those that have worked really hard to make this happen. All the activities, and it's great to see some external people being brought on board, like Off the Record, who I know fairly well through my outreach work as well, coming in to actually support activities for staff and students as well. This year's Feel Good February has been shaped around the 5 ways to wellbeing, which is focused around by WHO. And I think it is focusing around relaxing, trying something new, getting active, and eating well. And to share with you that, have I been able to do all these things possibly over the last 12 months? Probably not. And at times I've probably had to take a stock of my own kind of life and my own positioning about my own well-being, about being stressed, the impact that has upon me, my family, and people around me. And that's particularly challenging when some things that you do under normal circumstances just can't be done or can't be undertaken. So the focus on the well-being at these times is become paramount, I believe. As I mentioned earlier, being a dean of a health and applied sciences faculty, which is quite a diverse faculty, it's really important that aspects of well-being are encompassed within all our programs, actually, not just the health ones, which is the obvious place for them, but for example, being involved in putting together the 12 Days of Christmas, which Kat obviously organised for Christmas. That gave me such a personal sense of well-being and connectedness, actually, even though, again, it was done at distance. But that ability to actually connect with other humans, connect with colleagues across the university, that sense of well-being is really, really powerful. And I've seen that being done lots across the university in terms of people being there for each other. So again, that well-being has to start with self, but equally, it's amazing how that spreads to others when that positioning is just right. I want to talk a little bit about being able to speak up and speak out, and mental well-being in particular. It's really important that us as colleagues in the university are able to speak up when we're not feeling okay, and actually being able to talk with someone about not being okay, and that's okay. And again, that's something that I've had to learn to do over the years from a personal perspective, in saying, actually, I don't feel okay, and being all right with that. And again, taking stock of what this month's about and the Feel Good February, it's really important that people feel in their hearts and minds that actually they can position themselves through the wellbeing activities and through self-reflection, for example, that actually it's okay to talk about your feelings. Again, I just want to kind of finish off by saying a big thank you to the organizer of this year's event, in particular, Louise and Eleanor, who've done an amazing job coordinating, working with others, and bringing together fantastic speakers for today and events throughout the whole of February. I don't think until you actually see sometimes what goes on behind the scenes for things such as Feel Good February, that you really begin to understand how much energy, effort, and work goes into something like this, which, as Eleanor mentioned, is about positivity, and it's about actually taking stock and having a look at yourselves, your own self-well-being, and that of others around you as well. I'll encourage everyone to take what they can from today's talks, but also have a think about what it means for you going forward, both as a colleague within the workplace, but also the positivity that you can have upon your family and friends around you. And lockdown's not forever. COVID's not forever. things will get back to some sense of normality, and it's really important that we understand that as well. Lots of information on the website, on the intranet site. There's loads on there about how to book onto the events that are taking place in February. They've all been supported through Teams, Microsoft Teams, and I think it's our roles as well to make sure that we actually encourage others who may not feel maybe as confident to sign up, to encourage them as well to actually sign up to some of these events as well. I'll finish by saying well-being is everyone's business, and we need to look after our own well-being in order to be able to help others to enjoy life, to flourish, both in our personal and professional lives, and use our personal energy in a sustainable and meaningful way. Please enjoy today's opening launch. And again, a big thank you to all the speakers for taking the time to put together their talks and sharing their experiences with other people as well. And also we have the hashtag UE Feel Good, basically that can be used throughout this month and beyond actually as well. So that's it from me as the welcoming address. I hope that's okay, and I hope that does connect with colleagues as well across the wider university.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. That was a really lovely way to start the event, and some really important messages in there as well. So thank you. We're also really lucky and pleased to be welcoming an outstanding panel of speakers who will share their experience, expertise and knowledge with us throughout the course of this event. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to them to tell us a little bit about themselves. So is it okay if, Kat, can we start with you?
Thanks, Eleanor. Hello, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kat Branch, and I'm a senior lecturer in music, but my main focus is leading the Centre for Music, which it just takes up most of my life. The Centre for Music is a sort of extracurricular facility for students and for all staff as well. So we're here for everybody, and we provide activities that focus on well-being, on support, on creativity. We're lucky we don't have to worry about delivering music degrees whilst we are an academic team. So we're all focused on enriching everybody's lives through music. So that's me. It's lovely to see you all.
Thank you very much. And now can we go to Liz?
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz Jenkinson. I'm a health psychologist here at UE and a senior lecturer. And my other role is now to co-chair the Healthy University group at UE. So that's with Matt Jones, who I know is also on the call, and working closely with some other colleagues who are here today too, including Louise and Eleanor. So my role in that capacity is to help oversee health and wellbeing strategy, programmes and events here at UE. Across the university, we work with lots of different groups, including CAT and the Centre for Music, the University Health Centre, the Centre for Sport, and many, many, many more. So we bring together those who are leading health and wellbeing initiatives across the university to discuss, collaborate, and come up with new fresh ideas in how we can help the university promote health and wellbeing in the most effective and staff and student centres way possible.
Lovely, thank you. Can we now go to Marcus, please?
Yeah, all right. Hi, my name's Marcus Delpesh. I'm a student here at UE. I'm also working under Mary Prigg as a social link worker. So, well, that should be starting up soon. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, and yeah, I play for Bristol Flyers. It's a professional basketball club out here. And yeah, I'm just excited to just be a part of this discussion.
Great, thank you for that, Marcus. And now can we go to Marie, please?
Hi, yeah, so I'm Marie Pring. Some of you might know me from the Feel Good Thursday emails. I am Active Lifestyle Officer at the university. Essentially, my job is encouraging people to get more active in their day-to-day lifestyle to support their health and well-being. And I also run the student social prescribing programme, Living Well, which Marcus just referred to. So all sorts of activities ranging from sort of anything health related really, to support students through their time at university.
Great, thank you. And finally, can we just go to Nick, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick. I'm a student here at UE, and I used to be the president of the Veg Society here, so that's the Society for Vegetarians and Vegans, and anyone else who wants to join. And I have two main passions, which are healthy eating, like whole food, plant-based, super healthy eating, and natural lifestyle, natural movement. And yeah, incorporating movement into your day and living in a more natural way.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for everyone for explaining a little bit about yourself. It's an honour to have you all here for today's event. And thank you everyone else for taking the time to be with us today. We hope that today will provide you with some stimulating conversations, and most importantly, that you will continue these discussions beyond the time that we have together and get involved with some of the fantastic events that we have coming up. There was some housekeeping to do, but I think Louise has covered it all. I'm just checking. So it's just to be aware that the session is being recorded, and if you would like subtitles, if you just click the three dots on the Teams chat, then you can access those. Oh, and just please, if you have any questions for the panel, if you could hold them to the end when we, have time to do a little Q&A at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start with the questions for our participants. And I'm going to start with question 1, which is, how do you prioritise your health and well-being? Is there anything you are doing to help yourself feel good through lockdown? And if we could go to Marie to start off, please.
Yeah, of course. So just thinking about what I've been doing, and I guess, again, referring back to the Feel Good Thursday email, a lot of you will already know this. Just doing what I can. I think Mark referred to it at the beginning as well, doing what I can to really take a step back and think, actually, how am I doing? Taking a kind of a moment away from the screens, when I need to, just getting out and doing those little things to kind of support my my mental well-being. It's at the beginning of lockdown, something I really struggled with, to adjust to being in front of the screens all the time. As you can probably guess from my job title is being active, so a lot of the time I'm away from screens normally. So beginning of lockdown was quite difficult to adjust to being in front of a screen all the time and having kind of virtual meetings. So it's something that I really had to kind of put at the forefront of my mind and work on. Now I find it really a key priority to make sure I get out of the house every day, whether it's just to do a lap around the block or go for a bit of a longer walk or a run, just something to get moving.
Yeah, I think that time away from the screen is so important. It's definitely been a big part of my experience through lockdown as well. Yeah, it's just such a good way. I mean, it's not natural, is it, for us to be sat in front of a screen all day? So yeah, it's definitely really important. If we can now go to Marcus.
For me, so during the first lockdown, my club kind of just we didn't have access to gyms or anything like that, and so that was like really frustrating, to be honest. Like, obviously, like I came here to the UK as just play professional basketball, and so when I wasn't able to do that, and then at some point, it was in October, that's when the cup we were supposed to start playing on our cup play, and our house tested positive for COVID, so we had to all go into lockdown. And so that was the first time I actually had to spend 2 weeks like not able to leave the house all day. I was either like watching Netflix or playing video games. And so I think that between the first lockdown and then this whole experience with being like actually being properly stuck in the house, it was tough. And I think that once coming out of that, I think it was more of a priority for me to, even if it was, to Mary's point, just being able to like go outside. Like I hated running, and I wasn't really keen about walking that much. And after where you were able to get out, it was just I would either just go to a drive and just go to the downs and just like to walk around and just, I don't know, just not be confined, And so, but on the same token, and especially for me as not being from the UK, obviously I want to be able to stay in touch with my people from back home. So that's usually like my face is on the computer screen or on my phone, just being able to FaceTime my friends and stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of providing that balance. Like, obviously, I think like when I do want to go outside, it's more for me, like me just I don't know, just getting out of my room. But then at the same point, being able to the good thing about how we are in the 21st century with all this technology, allows us to stay in contact with people. So I think it's just for finding that balance. And then obviously, like since this is like the second or third lockdown, unfortunately enough, like we're still able to practice and we're still able to have our games and stuff like that. So I had that access to not only get outside the house, but also be able to play with basketball, which is like, I don't know, this is my passion. This is something I really love to do. And so I've been fortunate in that regard. So I think just like, but like, if I know for other people who may not have that opportunity, may be furloughed and then stuck in the house, I think it's just like find something that like you are passionate about or learn to do something new. So then, yeah, like no one likes, if you're gonna be stuck in the house, you may as well be stuck in the house doing something that you enjoy. You know what I mean? So I think just kind of just finding like what that is for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's such an individual thing, isn't it? You just have to find what works for you. And then can we go to Nick, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure. So obviously for me, one of the most important things is eating right and making sure your diet's in check. And when you think about like every single cell in your body is made of something you've eaten, that's like makes you think about, you know, eating right is obviously a huge deal. And also your gut microbiome outnumbers your human cells 5 to 1. So you have 5 times more cells in your gut than you do human cells in your body. And when I think about that, it makes me just, you know, really want to eat right and get all of those good plants inside me. And the other thing as well is just some simple like home exercise. Like reflecting the other guys, going outside is really important. But I also think being able to stay at home and do some exercise. So I've got a hang bar outside my kitchen, and I just hang out on that all the time. I must spend like an hour a day hanging. Because again, like if you think our evolution, we come from like brachiating species. We used to hang all the time, like millions of years ago. But you know, that's still in us somewhere. So I think respecting that and just hanging out, you know, doing some pull-ups, and whatever it may be, moving and eating right. That's my answer.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. I love those, like it's just like really thinking about like our natural instincts and you know, what is really best for us. You know, there's a tendency to forget that we are just sort of animals. So it's really important to think about it in that way as well. So that's really great. Thank you. So can we now go to Liz, if that's okay?
Hi. So I don't want to kind of put across the idea that I've been absolutely fine and healthy and well through all of this. So I'm an academic and a parent of 2 young children. So it has been a stressful time, a difficult time, you know, time of change, both emotionally, physically, routines, schooling. It's been tricky. And even as a health psychologist, knowing all the right things to do, you don't always do it yourself, do you? So there's been really peaks and troughs, I think, during this for me and my family. But when work has been manageable, it hasn't always been that manageable, I have to say. I think those of us on the call who are working hard know how difficult it's been. But, you know, when time allows, I have tried to do the 5 ways to wellbeing. So, yeah, everyone's mentioned getting active, incredibly important for our physical health and our mental health, the kids as well, especially. But particularly getting out in nature. So people were talking about getting outdoors, really important. But for me, and some of the evidence suggests as well that getting out into nature might have even bigger benefits. So I try to get down to the local Snuff Mills, Eastville Lake. Anyone that follows us on Twitter will see my photos of swans and running water and all kinds of things. And I find that's really therapeutic for me and the children, is to get out to nature. A walk around the block is great. But if I've got the time and I can fit it in, it's getting out to kind of, you know, really what people call awe walking. So being somewhere where you really sort of stop and go, wow, look at that waterfall, look at that tree, look at that squirrel, look at that bird. And that can really have positive health benefits over and above kind of the exercise as well. And there's been some interesting research around that from UWE recently about how getting out to nature is really important for young people. Issy Bray did some great work on that recently that UWE's been talking about on their social media that you might have a look at later. So for me, that's been really important. Also, no one's mentioned arts, crafts. I help run the social prescribing arm for the students around arts and craft and wellbeing with Nicola Holt. with Marie. And for me, kind of taking up new arts and crafts with the kids, decorating our windows across the community, keeping my Christmas lights up. At the moment, I've got my Christmas lights up out the front of my house still, because everyone walks past and they see it and it's a bit of fun. So anything like that, really, to bring joy to every day, to mix things up a bit, to do something differently that I probably wouldn't do if I was at work. Lots of gardening, you know, all those sorts of things that make me engage in something, try something new, bring a bit of joy to every day. So it's not been easy, I have to say. It's been a bit of a struggle at times, but lots of things have helped, and making a little bit of space for that every day, I think, has been important for me and my family, and kind of taking the lid off that stress, really. So yeah, lots of little things, I think, for me.
Yeah, no, those are lovely. And I think it's really interesting that, you know, with so many of these things, it's like it sounds so like just such a back to basics thing, but the most basic things can just have such a incredible impact to your day, and just to switching your mind off away from the sort of the C word news and all of the stuff, the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. It's great. Thank you so much for that, Liz. And lastly, can we go to Kat, please?
Thanks, Eleanor. Yeah, I think for me, one of the most difficult things about lockdown has been not all my geographical space all blurring into one. And so I normally really enjoy the commute, because I get ready for work and I get in that mindset. And then as I leave all that behind. So having all of that smooshed into one has been hard. So what I've had to do, I tried to make a little place in my house, which is like the no work zone. It's in my bedroom. It's the only place I can find. And I've spent time getting flipping throw cushions in there and the poshest candle I could afford. So, and no work can go there. So to try and differentiate between when I'm working and when I'm not, because what I was finding was my work was just bleeding into all hours. I wasn't sleeping very well, and not because I was particularly stressed, but because my brain was continuing to churn out ideas and concepts and strategies and thoughts, and I couldn't park it because I was carrying it all around with me. And the other difficulty was that music, which is something I love and I'm passionate about and have spent so much of my life training for, is a place where normally I would go for some solace and relief. You know, the evidence for music making and well-being is enormous. But interestingly, if you look at professional musicians, their mental health is normally, can often be in quite poor shape, because of when the pressures of kind of professional requirements in music come together. So this whole blurring of work and life was eating away at my ability to enjoy my music activity, and it wasn't a restful space. It was becoming a very pressured place. So the first thing was I decided to do Couch to 5K, because that's a total break from anything musical. I'm really unfit. I'm not sporty. I'm very uncoordinated. I'm covered in bruises where I bump into my furniture at home all the time. And I'm very, very slow. But I thought, well, let's have a total break and see what that does for me. And I really loved that program because it didn't make me feel stupid, which as an unfit person is often how I feel. The idea of doing exercise and going to a gym is just a torture show for someone like me. And so being able to go out on my own and find that headspace, doing something I hadn't done before, and kind of seeing the progress really, really helped me a lot. So I've continued with that. And then the other thing I've done is tried to make playful opportunities for music, for my passion. And I've tried to work it into my work, actually, so that I've got a mental permission to be spending time doing it. So for some of the different things we've got in the EDI calendar coming up, I've tried to create opportunities for myself to make music in a much more intuitive and creative way. Just kind of, I'm working on some music, working up to some poetry for Women's Day. And as a team, we're doing a lip sync for LGBT month, so that we can kind of goof around and have fun together. And doing kind of deliberately trying to make those opportunities in my work for kind of fun and creativity has been really helpful, because then I'm not just constantly having work is over there and it's hard, and relaxation is over here and it's difficult to establish. Actually accepting that there is a kind of porousness at the moment happening between these two worlds, and so trying to make some fun and enjoyment within the workplace, and then whilst also partitioning off some kind of sacred relaxation space where I know when I go to that little place in my house, that's my relaxation space, has been really helpful. So it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of how I've got on. But just as Liz said, I have to say, like everybody, I found it a massive struggle. And for me, the biggest steps are when I downloaded the Couch 5K app, I put my trainers on. I was like, right, okay, this is the journey. The journey is stepping out of the door. That's what it is. That was by far and ahead the hardest part.
No, that's great. I think those types of things, like the Couch to 5K, is just such a great incentive, and it kind of highlights what I was saying about having these positive conversations around well-being and making it so it's not exclusive. It doesn't, it doesn't only appeal to a certain type of person, and hopefully we can open up the conversation more and make it feel like everyone can get involved. And I think that's so great. It's lovely to hear. I think for the next question, I think I might just ask the question, and then I'll give you guys like 5 minutes, and if you just sort of want to jump in and have more of a discussion rather than me kind of regimenting it, it might be a bit nicer for you, if that's okay. So the next question is, how do you think COVID-19 has changed people's attitudes around mental health and physical well-being? So if Kat, you want to start as you're ready.
Gosh, that's a big question, isn't it? I think the pandemic has brought to all of our attention how fragile we are. I think those of us who see ourselves as competent professionals, or very organised, driven people, or successful athletes, thinking about Marcus, these identities have been attacked, I think, through the experience of the pandemic. And I think we've all had to face our humanity and our fragility, and be honest with ourselves about how we're doing and when we need a break. And I think it's also helped us to think more creatively about what we're going to do to take care of ourselves. Sometimes, narratives about self-care can feel exhausting, and we can't be bothered to parent ourselves, and we just want to, junk food out, or we think, oh, I'm taking care of myself by having a bubble bath, when in fact it's normally much more consistent, more adulting we have to do for ourselves. And I think the pandemic has brought that to the fore, and then we've had to think of new ways of doing it. Nick has got a pull-up bar in his house. Awesome idea. I put one in for my son, actually, because I can't do a pull-up. I've tried, trust me. I hang there and I can get to about there. But kind of, in many ways, it kind of forces us to think again, doesn't it, and come up with novel approaches. I'm aware Marcus would like to jump in. Oh, Marcus, you're on mute there, bud.
Sorry, but yeah, thank you. No, I definitely agree with that. Something I found was that, like, I know, so when I feel like in general, up until this point specifically, like when, like prior to this whole COVID thing, when everyone says like, oh yeah, mental health is important, like no one's gonna say like no, like that's stupid. No one thinks that mental health isn't important. And then like when we just think of our own physical health, everyone no one's gonna say like, oh, like it's like, it was more like a duh, like obviously. But like I know that like me personally, like because like we didn't have, I feel like we have like a lot of just like when we're operating through life normally, we have a lot of distractions. So like say like something you go through something personal or whatever, and then yeah, you might feel sad, but you're able to like go out, meet up with friends and stuff like that, or go to the movies. There's like there's plenty of things that like on top of like being able to process things through like however you need to, you also have things to help you distract you. And then something I found was that like I had like some personal stuff going on, and there was like no hiding from it. You know what I mean? It was just something where it's just like you just have to think about it. And I guess like also I think like I know like especially for people who like may or may not be as comfortable sharing things with other people. Like obviously you have your close friends like that, but like especially like if you're in another country or whatever, like, and then like you have to worry about time zones, stuff like that. It's gonna be like hard to communicate those types of things. And so I found that this is like, it kind of shows like, well, at least for me, I'm sure about other people, but it's like it kind of showed like how much I didn't like, I just like don't like really think about it. I just kind of just wait for it to like go away, because like no, time heals everything, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of one of the things where it forces you to actually deal with it and find like an actually like constructive way to like to process things. And then whether that you be like actually just being able to open up to people so that they can help you through it, or just finding whatever like healthy coping mechanisms that are around you, so then like you actually like process things. But I think like for a lot of people who are going through this, it's just like something where obviously everyone agrees that mental health and physical health is important, but like now it's just, you're like people who like don't even like work out like that. Like a lot of my friends from back home, they don't work out like that. And now that when they were told like, hey, you can't go outside or you can't like go to the gym, it's like, all right, well, I didn't really go to the gym anyway, but why are you telling me I can't go to the gym now? You know what I mean? So I think like a lot of things where I think it's just like kind of like made things like really like people actually have to face like a lot more things, which is like good and bad. Because like obviously if you don't have the appropriate coping mechanisms for whatever you're going through, it can be really challenging. And if you it's been interesting. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I'm also just struck by your comments about having to talk to people who perhaps you maybe not have opened up to, because I know within my work teams, I don't know whether anyone else on the panel would agree, there's actually been a much higher rate of disclosure where we've been much more honest. You know, that work conversation of, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, bye. That's kind of gone. And we've been much more honest, actually, about when we're struggling, because we've had to be. Because like Marcus is saying, we can't just distract ourselves and can't just pretend and fake that we're doing okay. And generally speaking, I think that has been quite positive, actually, because it's put us on a more authentic footing and it helped us support each other and treat each other with that kindness, you know, that Marc Griffiths opened up with the opening talk.
Yeah, I think I was just about to say the same thing, Kat. You don't have those opportunities to be able to distract yourself at the moment with the things that you would normally do, which maybe in some ways is a positive, but also could be kind of detrimental as well. But actually it's forcing us to have those conversations with people that we wouldn't normally have, and finding new ways of coping with the things that we're going through. And as you said, the teams that we work with, I'm really lucky that my team are incredibly supportive and very open to having those conversations. And I think I've become increasingly aware that it is possible to have those conversations with other people as well. I think a lot of the panel today I work quite closely with, and we have these conversations quite a lot. I think, how are you really doing? And actually, is there anything we can do to support each other? Which are conversations that maybe we wouldn't have had before. So I think that's definitely something that's positive to come out of this.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sorry, I'm just really aware of time. So if we could just go to Liz lastly, and then I might have to ask the next one if that's okay.
You're on mute, Liz.
Oh, the classic, the COVID classic. Yeah, so I just wanted to raise a point as well that I think it's uncovered a lot of inequalities as well, both, you know, in society generally, but also within our working life too. So I think there is that whole distraction thing, and it is much easier to distract oneself if you can kind of afford to go and buy new things for yourself, engage in new activities, or you have access to a computer, you have access to Netflix, you have all these things that we do use to distract ourselves. And I think I've become even more aware, I think, of my privilege really through this, that I'm very lucky that I have a garden and I have access to green space and I have children to keep me busy, and I have, you know, have all these things in my life that mean that I have felt supported through this. But it's still been really, really hard. So I think in terms of kind of the impact of this on our well-being and our mental health, it's also sort of shed light on the fact that we knew there were a lot of disparities, and there was always going to be a different reaction to this situation, and depending on people's circumstances. And I think that's really made us all very much more aware that is something we need to be conscious of within the staff group, within the student group, within society as a whole, is that this isn't the same situation for all of us. We're all impacted in very different ways depending on our situation. Some people have had a very tough time, have been very unwell, have been bereaved. I know in our faculty we have a lot of staff and students who are working very, very hard on the front line. I've got students out there vaccinating. I've got students out there working in hospitals with clients very close to them. So it has been a very this has affected everyone's health and mental health, but for some it's affected it in a more detrimental sense than perhaps any of us sat here chatting today. So I think that's really, I mean, obviously I was very aware of this anyway as a health psychologist, but I think even more so it's really brought that home to me really hearing people's personal stories of the pandemic. And I think perhaps hopefully made me more sensitive and understanding about the challenges that people might face. And perhaps hopefully we can build back better in terms of those sorts of issues when we do see a semblance of coming back to the life that we used to know, and really taking consideration of the fact that there are different needs in terms of mental health support and physical health support as well.
Great, yeah, thank you so much for that. And I think that's so true. It's like I heard a really lovely quote the other day that was, we're all weathering the same storm in different boats. And I just thought that rang so true. And I just think that one of the nice things, I mean, not nice because it's kind of had to happen, but one of the most reassuring things that we can take from the situation is I think that there's been so much kindness and compassion from everyone for people that, you know, they might not even particularly know. And I just hope that that maybe that's something that we can take away from the situation as well. So yeah, Nick, did you just want to jump in quickly?
Yeah, I just really wanted to quickly touch on the more physical. Everyone's been talking, making these great points about the mental health side, which I think a lot spills over into the physical health side. And I just want to say, I think it really sucks that this has had to happen for us to sort of take mental health more seriously, and people have had to experience like more negative mental health over the past year in order to take broader mental health more seriously. I think that really sucks, but also it's sort of a good thing, you know, that it's finally happening. But in terms of physical health, I think a lot of people have been impacted because they've lost their space. So if that's your gym, or I love to go climbing, whatever it may be, everyone has anyone who goes anywhere to work out has lost that space, apart from maybe professionals, which, yeah, it's pretty lucky. But yeah, and I think that really sucks for a lot of people, and it's having a huge effect on people's physical health. And I think that a way that we can overcome this is sort of normalizing movement more in your own spaces and wherever you are, whether that be just in the street, you know, going out and moving around in the street, going on runs or whatever, but also, yeah, in your own home, like crawling around your home is really fun, you know, being more playful with how you're moving across your home. One thing I really love to do is, if I go on a walk with a friend and I'm in a park, is play fetch, but where I'm the dog. So like my friend will throw a stick and then I'll like bound after it. You can ask any of the Veg Stock crew, they find it really funny. And it's great fun. It just brings a really, really playful sense. You know, it's really good fun, but it really wears you out as well, I can tell you that much. And the last thing is like tree climbing as well. Like I judge people by how recently they last climbed a tree. And I think that we should all climb more trees. And like there are these ways we can bring movement more into our lives and make them more accessible, and not have these sort of temples to physical exercise like gyms and stuff. And I think that that's really important, and I'm hoping that more people will realize that in this lockdown.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's great. I know there's I live in Bournemouth, and obviously we have quite a lot of cliff edges, and I know that quite a few like local climbers have just taken to the cliffs rather than, because there's all their climbing centres are closed. So yeah, no, it's great. Okay, so I'm just going to ask the next question, if that's okay. So is there anything that, well, you may have covered a few of these things already, but this question is aimed specifically at working from home. So is there anything that you do when working from home to help you feel good?
Shall I start off, because I think this leads quite well from what I was just saying about
Yeah, sure.
like crawling around your home and stuff. So I want to start by saying I heard this great quote of we're not working from home, we're living at work. And I think a lot of people are feeling like that at the moment, as some people have touched on so far. But I think there are ways that, you know, you can make living at work more pleasant. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm sitting on the floor right now. I have no chairs in my house or any like big furniture. So Kat, if you bump into your furniture all the time, then maybe just get rid of it all. I can recommend it. And yeah, ground living is really good for so many reasons. Like if you're sitting in a chair, you have one real position you sit in, you know, the normal position. And that's really bad for our posture. It messes with your hips and the angle of your hips and stuff. Whereas when you're sitting on the ground, we as humans have so many natural ground rest positions, you know, and every 3 or 4 minutes, I get really uncomfortable and I shift position. So if you see me fidgeting a lot, it's probably because I'm, you know, shifting position, changing the angle of my hips, where my legs are. And it just keeps us super mobile, and it's a really good way of staying sort of low-key active while you're sitting down working. And I also have this is like the best advice I could give anyone working from home is what I call my TP cycle. So in the morning, I make a huge cup of tea, right? And I sit down at my work and I get through the tea, you know, it takes a while. And there are studies showing that if you're fully hydrated, then it takes about 20 minutes for the liquid that you drink to then, you know, fill up your bladder. So I find when I try and set alarms to take breaks, like, you know, you take breaks every half an hour and all of that, alarms just don't work for me. I snooze the alarm and I think, okay, I'm just going to finish this one bit. Oh, there's just this other bit, you know, I just keep doing that. But if you really got to go pee, then there's no snoozing that. You can snooze it for a while, but, you know, only to a certain amount. But then the key is when I pop off to, you know, do that, I just make sure to make another cup of tea. And then the whole day, it's just this amazing cycle of getting up, you know, hanging for a bit, wandering around. It's great. I'd really recommend it to people. And the other thing is, so I've got exams at the moment. I'm in my exam week. And one of the best things I did last week while I was revising was just take the day off. Like, I think it was the best of my revision sessions. Like, it really helped me way more than any of the lectures I watched or any of the notes I made, you know. And I can really recommend taking time off. And it can be hard when you're living at home or living at work, working from home, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think really just setting aside time if you can, even if it's, you know, just the weekends and things, just really setting aside that time and saying, I'm not doing work now.
Marcus, do you want to take over?
Okay. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, I guess like for me, like, I guess I don't really work from home at the moment, but I've had like a very high increase in Zoom meetings for like team meetings, which has been an interesting dynamic. But yeah, I guess like when I just like usually our meetings are short, and then if we're ever have Zoom workouts because our facilities are closed, then I don't know. I think for me it's not I don't really necessarily have problems working from home because all my sessions are like within an hour, so that I can just like take a break and go off and do whatever. And then when I do uni work, I will I'll just set I'm gonna do 3 to 4 hours of work, and then I'm just gonna take a break. So I think I definitely agree, like taking a break is very important because you don't want to just I'll be honest, I mean, we've all been there. There are times where you need to just hunker down and just bang out work. We all have like our days like that. But yeah, if there's ever a time where you can just like take a break for like whether it be 30 minutes, an hour, or however long it needs to be, I think it's very important just to like find that balance. But outside of like when I'm doing uni work and outside of when I'm doing uni work or like with like if I'm having Zoom meetings with my club for whatever the case may be, I think I've been like really good about I think it's like I'm able to like balance like being my screen time and work time and just having time just to like relax. So I think that'd be my advice for sure. Just like don't overwork yourself unless if I have a deadline, I'm gonna hunker down. But like other than that, I think the biggest takeaway would be just make sure you have some time for yourself and just like find time to relax. So however you want to do that, for sure.
Marie, Marie, did you want to? That's okay.
Yeah, I think probably going back to what we were talking about earlier with having that time to commute. I think that's been something that I've really put into place this time around, especially. So having that time where you would normally be travelling to work, I've really made sure that I've done something in that time. So whether it's like a 10-minute yoga session, or it's a short walk around the block, or calling my mum, or whatever it might be, speaking to somebody, just those times away from the screen, but not quite at home yet. So that transition period, I think, to begin with, was a really strange one for me because I was literally going from the table to the sofa, and it was a weird moment where you couldn't switch off and you didn't really know what was going on. So I think for me, creating that space that within my mind to actually just switch off has made a real difference to how I feel in the house now. So I think, like we were saying earlier, with living at work, it can feel really difficult, especially when you're spending a lot of time in one room. So having that moment to actually switch your brain from being, okay, I'm not thinking about work now, I am going to think about my life being at home, has made a real difference to me. Again, it's something we've spoken about before in the past, and that's the thing I think that's made the biggest difference.
Liz, go for it if you want to.
So yeah, lots of things already mentioned, you know, getting active and trying to move around the house and all kinds of things like that. But I guess a couple that haven't been mentioned that have helped me is trying to eat well in terms of planning ahead. So I'm sure lots of people on the call like me are quite busy academics, loads of teaching, lots of Zoom meetings, things that we don't anticipate happening, but we have to get on really quickly. Like student crises and things like that. So for me, it's been really thinking ahead for the week about what I'm going to eat at lunchtime. So I've been, and I was never this sort of person before, but I'm very much a sort of busy, you know, organised chaos kind of person normally. But I've been making sure that I'm roasting loads and loads of veg on a Sunday, just chucking it all in a pan with a load of olive oil, sticking it in the oven, and then putting into loads of little Tupperwares, you know, left over from Chinese takeaways and stuff like that, reusing and recycling in that way. And then putting a little bit of rice in, a little bit of chicken, and then I've got it for lunch, and then kind of putting it in the fridge for the next 3 or 4 days, so that when I have that 15-minute break, and sometimes sadly it is only that long, to run downstairs, warm something up and eat something, it's something healthy. It's not always a sandwich where I might not get my 5 a day if I have that, and then have something in the evening where I maybe have a couple of veg and things like that. And just trying to make sure there's fruit in there, and there's a range of, you know, colours of veg, different nutrients and that kind of thing. And I you know, when you're at UE, you know, maybe I wasn't doing that so much, so I've taken the opportunity to do that, you know, even better perhaps than I did before, and also having it all completely ready just to stick a fork in, because yeah, we are incredibly busy at the moment. And the other thing for me is making plans. So that's very grounded in health psychology, and the evidence really is about, if you plan to do something, you put it in the diary, you say when you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, and who you're going to do it with, and you make a contract with yourself that it's going to happen. It doesn't always happen, but evidence suggests it's much more likely to happen. And I find that being a bit of an extrovert, someone who loves to be with people, and I'm really missing that at the moment, it's really good for me to make a plan with a friend, a neighbour, or with the kids. Or yesterday, you know, I went for a walk with my mum at 1-to-1 around a local lake. And I think it's about me making that commitment with another person to say, no, I'm going to take that half an hour out of my day. And then if I don't go, I feel like I'm letting them down. And because I'm one of those sorts of people, I find it much harder to break an appointment with a friend or family member than I do if I'm just doing it on my own, because there's a social element, but also there's that, you know, oh no, I'm going to have to cancel. So that's very much grounded in what we know in health psychology and health behaviour, is that if we do it in pairs or groups, we're a bit more motivated often to kind of stick to our plans. So I've tried to implement that in my life a little bit. And again, I'm not always great at exercising, so that's really helped me to kind of stick to some of the plans and to add something positive to my day.
Definitely. I think implementing that structure is just, like, it can be literally life-changing, and I definitely just feel like a bit of a blob because I'm just sort of like wandering around, not really knowing what I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's really important. I'm really sorry, we actually need to move on to the next question. I'm just really aware of time. Is that all right, Kat? Was there something you wanted to?
No, it's absolutely fine, Eleanor. You carry on. No, it's fine. Carry on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So the next question is, mental health and emotional well-being has been brought to the forefront of our attention during this time. How do you feel that we can have more positive conversations around mental health? Liz, if you wanted to start this one.
I think, as Mark says, it's modelling it yourself, isn't it? It's asking the question, and it's also showing people your own vulnerability. So sharing with your team that you know how things are going, taking time off, you know, when you need to. So I think it's about you know, when you are leading a team, and also your students as well, you know, being kind of a person who is honest about how they're coping up on this call today, and say, you know, lockdown's been easy, I'm really healthy and everything's been great. But the truth is, it's really hard, isn't it? It's really stressful. And I think just by disclosing these things ourselves, we give other people permission to disclose to us. So I think that's one way I think we can all have positive conversations with our students, with staff, with friends and family, is giving them space and asking the question, and also obviously crucially listening to them, often without any solution or answer or direction. It's just listening, and that sounds very obvious, but quite often we're very quick to jump in and say, well, what you need to do is this, and it would help if you did that. But actually often we just want to disclose, don't we? We just want to chat to somebody and have them listen to us and hear what we've got to say, and then we feel an awful lot better. So yeah, I think that's one way we can have more positive conversations, is to give it space, and crucially to listen when people do tell us how they're feeling.
Nick, you go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of reflect that and say, I mean, I can only talk from my own experience. This isn't like my area of expertise by any means or anything, but I think making the space for those like difficult conversations you might not want to be having with people. And so in my house, what we do is every morning we make a pot of tea, and we sit down and we just ask each other, like, how are you doing today? Like, are you looking forward to the day? What are your plans for the day? And that's really nice. And then in every evening as well, we sit down and we have more of an actual, there's sort of a sharing circle of like, what didn't go so well for you today? What would you have liked to have done differently? And how can you what can you do about that? And then following that up with celebrations of like things that really went well today. And I think that's just as important as celebrating the things that really did go well for you. And yeah, like Liz said, I think empathy, just listening to people and hearing their feelings, and trying just with all of your focus on what they're feeling and what needs behind those feelings that are causing those feelings. So if someone's feeling lonely, you know, really listening to that and trying to help them, you know, and being that person that can listen, but also just making space, whether that just be going on a long walk with a friend or something, and being willing to be a bit more vulnerable. Anyone who hasn't seen it, I think it's the most watched TED Talk in the world. Brené Brown's The Power of Vulnerability. Go watch it straight after this. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say.
Thank you. I love that idea about just sitting around in the morning and having a chat with a cup of tea. I just think that's amazing. I think so many of us just rush into our day and don't really take time to just have a little think about and notice how we're feeling. And I think that can actually make such a huge difference to the rest of your day and how that turns out. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. Marie, is that an old hand up, or is that? Did you want to jump in?
That is an old hand up. I'll take that down. I don't think I can add any more to that. I think Liz and Nick have both said that perfectly. Yeah, I have nothing else to add.
Great, thank you so much. I just wanted to kind of jump in with, in terms of feel good with this question. I think that hopefully, well, my aim anyway with the Feel Good program is just to try and open up these conversations, and especially in terms of social media. I think there's a lot of social media content out there that makes well-being and mental health and physical health especially seem so intimidating and so exclusive, and I think that it's really important to change the way we think about mental health a lot of the time, and I hope that it can, you know, it doesn't have one image, it doesn't look like one person. I think well-being and physical health and mental health looks like lots of different things. So yeah, hopefully that these types of conversations help in shifting that. So yeah, the next question is, what do you think are some of the long-term effects of COVID-19? So how do you sort of think things will feel afterwards? And do you think that perhaps there's maybe some positive things that will impact the way we live our lives after COVID? Did you want to start, Kat?
Yeah, I'll happily jump in with that one. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because I think there's that slight risk that well, just speaking for myself and my family, I've got 2 boys and my husband here at home as well. There's that slight risk that we might become a little bit introverted because we've become so used to our strange little world in our house, and we've kind of lost track of going to museums or going to a concert. That kind of thing feels like a memory from another life. So I'd be interested to see how we cope with re-engaging in these kind of like bigger natural social activities that we used to associate with our weekends. Interestingly though, I really hope that I can carry forward some learning that I've done about how my work-life balance is and how my social personal life balance is, because in a lot of ways I've quite enjoyed having less demands on my time socially, if I could be honest. I appreciate I'm in a house with 3 other people, so this will be a significant factor in why, in a way, I'm getting social input and not in need of more. So I don't think this is going to be a universal thing. But for those of us who have to live with lots of people who make demands of them, so I'm chatting to the parents here especially, I have come to kind of enjoy the fact that I don't have to make any social energy for other types of interactions. Being really honest, I mean, I love my friends, my girlfriends, and like other friends we have on our social network. These are people I would love hanging out with, and so we see them over Zoom. But it's way less demanding to jump on Zoom for an hour with a glass of wine, shut the laptop, already in my house. Didn't have to get an Uber, didn't have to get a babysitter, didn't have to put on an outfit, didn't have to make an effort. Have to say, all round, this part of how my social life has changed is something I'd quite like to embrace and carry forward.
That's so funny.
Yeah, less obligation on my social time. It's been good, and I've cultivated more time for reading. Well, I started running, and I think those things have been really good for me. So I'd like to maintain them.
That's great. Nick, did you want to take over?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this question sort of triggered the exact opposite response in my mind of I really hope that when this is all over, people come together more and we don't rely on Zoom so much anymore, because I think that a lot of people, when they use Zoom, their conscious brain sort of thinks like, yeah, I've had a good social interaction, this has done it for me, I've seen the people I wanted to see, but your subconscious is just longing for those like micro expressions, the pupil dilations, the flushing of the face that you just don't pick up over Zoom. Like, this is not a human connection over Zoom. It's good in terms of like socializing, but your subconscious is just missing the oxytocin you get from hugging someone or just touching someone, and I'm really hoping that, and I mean, as a society, we're pretty messed up when it comes to hugging, as British society, especially, that I think needs to fundamentally change for our own well-being. And I'm really hoping that this is an opportunity, even if it's just small, that people will start heading in that direction of, like physical connection with other humans.
Liz, did you want to make a point?
Yeah, so I think obviously again it goes without saying that this has pretty unanimously been a pretty awful time for most people, and there's been some really life-changing impacts for many, and we've lost a lot of people, and it has been a very difficult time. But I think when we think about what we might learn in terms of the positives, I think there are a few things which have been really interesting for me working in a health field. I mean, one is the finally some focus on what it's like to work in emergency care, what it's like to be a carer, what it's like to have a disability, what it's like to experience long-term fatigue. So we're seeing all of a sudden in society people recognizing the impact that having a long-term health condition, working with people who are very poorly, working as a key worker actually has on people's health and well-being, and how we might be able to support people better in future. And I think that's been really overlooked actually, and I've been really pleased to see people coming together in psychology, in emergency medicine, in the NHS to think about how best we can support people who do a really, really tough job, which was often unseen and undervalued. And I think, and teachers as well, and all these other people who are working really, really hard to keep everything going. I'm hoping that we will continue to value these professions, at all professions, but really, think about how we best support those people to carry on doing the great work that they do. And that might be a bit of a sea change in our perception of what we can expect for people who work in those jobs. And I think particularly in our faculty, where we train students to become healthcare professionals, you know, they're going to have to deal with a lot out there. And at the moment, they're dealing with an awful lot. And I hope we're going to be able to support them really, really well going forward, because we've really got this insight now. It's much more on the agenda about what great work that they do. And the other thing I think is just going back to this whole Zoom online offline debate. I think I'm seeing in working in health that a lot of people really like the fact now that socialising can be more inclusive for people who are stuck at home anyway. So it might be people who've recently had a baby, it might be people who have had a recent surgery, older adults who are at home on their own. It's becoming a lot more acceptable to connect online than ever before. And people who weren't connecting online with grandparents or people who have a long-term condition who find it hard to meet up in the pub, get out and go to the library, they're now seeing alternatives, and very, very quickly the tech is supporting that, isn't it? And it means that people have an ability to connect with their family, with their friends in a way that's never before. Now, I'm desperate to get back to touch and socialising and dancing and all that stuff, because I'm that sort of person. I love that. I want to go back to my music festivals and all that kind of thing. But I also think that we are going to see that people have a lot of alternatives to connect. And I think for some groups of people, this is going to be life-changing. This has been life-changing, that suddenly their voice is being listened to about what they need in terms of technology and how to connect with others. So I think that can be a real positive if we can really, think about groups of people who might need to connect in alternative ways than face-to-face. And that includes our students as well. So some of my students are saying, this is brilliant, I'm saving so much money not having to travel into UWE. So there are, everyone wants some face-to-face contact, absolutely, but there are some benefits to having a mix here and there. So I think these are all things that are higher up the agenda now, which can be seen as a positive, I think.
Definitely. I think those are such important messages. I definitely feel like I think people are sort of realising how incredible the NHS is as a service and how lucky we are to have it, and with that hopefully appreciating those people that keep it going. So yeah, I definitely think that's such an important thing to take away from it. Also with the Zoom debate, I think there are benefits and sort of bad points about it as well. I think, like for me personally, like I do online yoga now, which is such a blessing, because I literally just roll up my mat, get my class done, and then I can just go and get back into my pajamas, and it's nice and easy. I don't have to walk miles away to go to the building and things like that. But like Nick said as well, I am desperate as well to get back to being able to hug people and see people's faces as well. So yeah, there are definitely ups and downs to it, I guess. I'm really sorry, we're already running out of time, but if Marcus and Marie, did you just want to jump in really quickly, or are you happy for me to move on to the next question?
Yeah, move on, that's fine.
All right, okay, just really quickly, I'm going to ask the last one, which is what are you looking forward to most about Feel Good February, and are there any specific events that you are excited to attend? Kat, did you want to start maybe?
Oh, thank you. Well, it won't surprise anyone to know that actually I'm really excited that at Centre for Music we're doing free one-to-one lessons again this month. I know this seems like a plug, but honestly for me this is amazing, because getting access to specialist tutors on an instrument is just really fun. It's great. It's normally,
you plug away.
it's normally out of, it's expensive actually to do that kind of thing. Thinking about what Liz was talking about inequalities, access to music is a huge case in point. If you haven't got sort of spare cash to pay for tutors, it's really hard to get going. Anyway, suffice to say, I'm really looking forward to having a month of potentially free access to tutors here and there, because I like to pick up new instruments. It's how I keep myself fresh with music, talking about trying something new. I recently acquired a clarinet, Now, my background is actually on brass, and I play a bit of saxophone, similar mouthpiece to the clarinet. But I'm really looking forward to meeting a tutor and just getting introduced to the instrument properly, because I think that'll set me off to go and use that for my relaxation time. So I think that's going to be wonderful. Of course, very music flavoured there. There are some. There are plenty of other actually extremely exciting events in the schedule, so I'm going to let someone else jump in.
Yeah, maybe Marcus, is there anything like sporty that you had in mind? Or... I don't want to put you on the spot if there isn't.
Well, it's just like, it's depending on like my scheduling, because I would be like pretty interesting to see what I could do with that. And then obviously like being like a social link worker, and then I know that physical activity is also like one of the programs that we offer the students. So if there'd be a way to like encompass the two somehow, then I think that'd be sick. But yeah, like I don't know, I would also have to like check on my scheduling, and then like maybe have to talk to the UE coach about doing something if I could like contribute. Maybe if there's something really I can do, then like, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's a few challenges and stuff going on there.
You know, I might be playing myself, so when else is gonna win? But it'd be interesting. I actually am excited for it. Obviously, I think it's a great idea, especially like during this like time period. I mean, obviously, like, well, it depends on what it's gonna be going on with whether this lockdown is gonna be extended or not. But if we are able to like start like getting back to normalcy slowly by like the mid-February, then we can probably start encompassing more like interactive programs versus like what I guess like the more like virtual options I would provide, which is still better than nothing. But yeah, that's kind of just my take on it.
Yeah, no, great, thank you. Marie, was there anything you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna maybe shamelessly plug as well. But I'm super excited for our live event this year. So obviously we normally do the big Zumba. This year we're doing a big HIIT class, which will be live on our Centre for Sport Instagram. So if anyone wants to take part in that, we've actually also got an intro to HIIT the week before, 2 weeks before. So if you haven't done HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, for the first time, then have a go. It's kind of there for everyone to take part in, and I'm really excited to do that this year.
Could people like me actually do that, Marie, or will I die? Because the idea of HIIT just sounds like I won't survive that.
No, you will. Honestly,
Same.
I promise you will. And our instructors are amazing. If you haven't done any of our classes already, then have a look and do some, because the instructors have been incredible in adapting to this virtual world. And we've been doing so many online classes. I think if you speak to anyone, I think, that's taken part, you'll be surprised at how inclusive they can be. And so I'm really looking forward to our online HIIT class with Mary. Also, there's a challenge around getting creative, which I'm really keen to get involved in as well. I think I've probably been a bit slack in being creative recently, so I'm really looking forward to kind of challenging myself and getting involved in something new.
That's so great. I'll definitely be taking part in the HIIT class. That sounds amazing. Love that. Does anyone else want to say anything else before I close up?
Can I just quickly jump in and say all of the great food events there are?
Yes,
like
definitely.
I saw there was a mindful eating thing on the 23rd. I think there's a vegan cook along on the 28th. And then all the Veg Society events that are going to be happening this month. They always put on some good events. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'll definitely be, as a fellow vegan, I'll definitely be getting involved with that vegan event as well.
Nice.
Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your ideas. We're now going to just see if there are any questions and answers. So if I maybe pass it over, if you want to ask any questions, anyone watching still, if you want to pop it into the chat, I'm maybe pass it over to Louise, who's in charge of the chat, to ask any of those.
So do you feel free if you have got any questions for our panel, or general questions in terms of the link to health and wellbeing, or the programme, but also don't feel under pressure if you haven't. It's fine too.
Yeah, we might have lost a few people. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Just to say, I've got my special guest, my son here, who's just saying hi. I hope that's okay, because we've been on a call for a long time. He's getting a bit bored. This is Elijah. So say hi.
Hi.
I was just going to say, I'd love to hear if anybody who's listening has picked up anything they think they're going to try. So if people aren't keen to ask questions, if you want to pop in the chat box, if there's any piece of advice or anything we've said today, or any kind of reflections rather than questions, or is there an activity you're gonna do at Feel Good? We just love to hear from you. So is there one thing you've taken away? Is there one thing that you might go and do after today? That would be great to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. So, I think as well, yeah, loneliness is such a big thing. Sorry, I can't see whose hand that is. Oh, is that yours, Liz?
I think someone called Francis has their name up by the look, just flashed up.
Oh, hello. Yeah, I think for me, like I've been doing like walking from home, a bit like someone else said, and I think I'm going to keep that going. So I actually call a friend that lives in Bath. So we call each other at 5 o'clock and do like a commute home from work, and we both go on Strava. So like it's that accountability thing that someone else mentioned. So I start my walk on Strava, they start their walk on Strava, and then we both go. And it just means, again, like if you're not feeling like, oh, I'm going to do my commute, they sort of call me and they're like, hey, I'm already outside, so get your shoes on. So yeah, I think that accountability really helps, because the same for lockdown 1 and 2, I was like a potato and didn't leave this flat.
Francis, I totally agree with you about the accountability. So not only does the kind of literature in health and psychology kind of support that making a plan with somebody else and being accountable is quite helpful, it's also just ticking 2 things off, isn't it? You get your exercise and you meet up with someone, and you kind of combat that loneliness, and also talk about how you're feeling, perhaps. So you can kind of, when we're so busy, it's a really good way of doing everything. And it's funny, isn't it? I never really think, or don't often think, to meet a friend for a walk. Normally I'd meet them maybe in the pub or a coffee shop or at work, and then I'd go for a walk another time. But actually it's made me realise that I should be meeting my friends for a walk and a chat, and that would be A, the best use of my time, and B, kind of just a really nice thing for everybody. So yeah, I think for me, I'm going to try and take that one forward, I think, like in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as Steffi mentioned in the chat, I think she's right about the loneliness, and I think that ties in quite nicely with what you're saying. I think having a little walk and a chat with a friend on the phone can really uplift your mood. So yeah, that's some lovely advice. Has anyone else got anything they want to, with limited mobility? Perhaps maybe if I pass this one over to either Marie or Marcus, you might be able to answer this one a bit better.
Yeah, if you have a look on our social medias, there's some links to the blogs that we've been doing, and there's some options, some opportunities on some of the blogs that we've posted around getting active if you have limited mobility, and also getting active if you are currently isolating. So if you have a look on there, there's loads of information there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. So as we close up, I just also wanted to, someone has their hand up. No?
Sorry, I'm going to chime in with that. And Marie, there's also lots of opportunities to engage in sort of low impact, isn't there? Like yoga, Pilates, depending on your functionality and your mobility. There's lots of activities across Feel Good which don't involve high impact, which are probably the ones I'll be doing. But yeah, there's lots of things around stretching, around like seated activity. Also going for gentle walking as well. I know there's a new scheme, isn't there, Marie, about kind of working as a team to walk to get to a target. So not that you have to be walking miles and miles, but maybe you might be able to do a little walk every day, and that might then be as part of a team. So there's lots of options where you don't have to be doing the high impact exercise or the running or the 5K. Lots of other ways to get active, and certainly for me it's about little bits of exercise every day rather than the sort of big full-on exercise at the moment from a time perspective as nothing else.
I think it's really important to remember that being active doesn't need to be a special moment. It can be kind of getting up, making a cup of tea, or it can be doing a bit of yoga or whatever it might be, and making activity part of your lifestyle rather than it being kind of a specific class or going to the gym or something like that. Liz was just speaking about the Brick Challenge, which again we'll be launching at the end of this month, and that's around moving to support your health and your well-being, and it will be the variety of options around getting active. So it's walking and running and cycling, but also pushing if you possibly you have you're in a wheelchair or whatever it might be. So there are lots of ways that you can get involved in that challenge as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, just as we close up, was there just one more hand up, or is that an old hand?
Yeah, hi, that's me. Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say thank you so much for all the great advice, and yeah, I think it's so important to just focus on the positives in this time. And I myself am a dancer, and I've found it so difficult, you know, not to move, and I feel like my body is just completely forgotten almost what it feels like. So I dance salsa, and what I do, I just sort of find myself dancing around in the kitchen with my sisters, just anytime I can kind of find, you know, just making food in the kitchen. So yeah, I was just going to say movement and music definitely, yeah, have been my sort of comfort, and yeah, in lockdown and yeah, throughout this year.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I love that. I just do that. I just go and have a dance or have a stretch or just go and do something, just move your body. So yeah, I love that. That's great. Thank you so much for that. I just personally as well wanted to finish by just saying, like, thank you so much for everyone that has attended today, and also just a massive thank you to Louise, who is literally like Superwoman. She organises so many things, and is such an important person behind Feel Good. So I just really want to say thank you before I pass it over to her to close up everything. So yeah, thank you, and thank you so much to everyone for all of the speakers as well. You've been amazing. So thank you.
Thanks, Eleanor. That's really good sharing as well.
No worries.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Eleanor, I'm basically going to throw the compliment back really, because the Feel Good program, I think a lot of people see a lot of announcements and things that get uploaded, but there is a whole heap of work that happens behind the scenes, both with myself and Eleanor and members of the project team who are with us on the call, Kat, Marie and Liz, to bring all this together. So thank you so much for joining, because this is a bit different for us to launch it digitally, but do continue to get engaged and involved with the program throughout the month. Check out, I've posted some links for you to kind of find out more. Please fill out the survey just so we can know that we're making a positive impact to staff and students. And that's basically it for me. We are finishing bang on time, which is always a success in itself. So please do try and enjoy either lunch, go outside, some fresh air, or do whatever is good for you to help you feel good as part of Feel Good February, but also beyond this. So thank you so much, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you or again at another point within Feel Good February.
Thanks, Louise. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.